I think Stetson Bennett in this story, Hutton, came along at the perfect time for college football.
Better storyline long term. Kirby Smart winning the title at Georgia, or Bennett winning the title at Georgia after being the walk-on 5 years ago, leaving, nearly going to Louisiana when offered a scholarship to play at Georgia, decides to go back to Georgia, and then, quite frankly, the coaching staff did everything in their power to keep him on the bench. They brought in 2 other 5-stars after they asked him to come back, and he still made his way to the starting lineup and leads them to a national title in his senior year. It's a fantastic finish. But then on the flip side, before you just automatically say it's the quarterback, here's Kirby Smart, who beat Saban for the title. And if you look through the lineage, Bear Bryant won it 6 times at Alabama. Steve Spurrier won it at his alma mater in 1996. Philip Fulmer did it in 98. And now Kirby Smart is the next coach in line to win the title at the college that he attended and the college that he loves. A program guy, as we like to say on the show. Both storylines are epic, and it's what makes the storyline overall of Georgia's season so fantastic.
Well, I think my answer would be Stetson Bennett, but what you're saying about Kirby Smart is interesting because it wasn't as if Kirby Smart was some superstar player at Georgia.
Right.
He was a good, solid player, a starter, late in his career at safety for the Bulldogs, but really not a guy from some famous family lineage where he was going to get great coaching opportunities right away. Worked his way up from the bottom, studied under the best coach in college football history in Nick Saban. And I think here's the key part to the Kirby Smart story, Hutton. He turned down many jobs. He had a chance to go to lesser programs than Georgia. He had a chance to get out from under the shadow of Nick Saban a few times, and he waited until he was the undoubtedly no-brainer hire for Georgia when they hired him. And they hired him because Mark Richt, a great man and a really good football coach who did a great job at Georgia, the Georgia administration, their fan base, everyone just said, this man is never going to win a national title. It's time we admit it. That's where we want this program to go. He's not going to do it. And they went out and they didn't hire a coach who'd already won a national title. They didn't hire a coach who had prior head coaching experience. They hired one of their own that studied under the GOAT in Nick Saban.
Yes.
And it worked where so many other Nick Saban assistants have not worked out. It took the perfect formula of Saban protege. That's their alma mater with Kirby Smart, knowing the region, great recruiter, and hiring a top-notch recruiting staff. Blend all that together, then you have the heartbreak a few times leading up to this moment, and it got Kirby Smart and more importantly, Georgia back to a national championship for the first time since 1980. So I'm with you, Hutton. Both are really good stories. I think the Stetson Bennett story is important for college football right now for this reason. Every headline is about the monetization of this sport. It's either people pissed off that players don't get paid more, mad about the amount of money that is being paid in television contracts that's not going back to the student athletes, mad about the money that's going to coaches, that's way too much, mad about coaches holding schools hostage for more money, mad about quarterbacks holding schools hostage by going into the portal, whether they're going to leave or not, because they're trying to get the best possible deal. And here you have a national champion that's not a 5-star quarterback, that didn't transfer out, that took lump after lump after lump, who legitimately was told his entire life he's not good enough to play at this level. This is not some fabricated chip on the shoulder that you see with 5-star athletes over and over. This isn't Alabama players saying they've been disrespected all year. This isn't Georgia players talking about disrespect who have been 5-star athletes their whole life. This is a guy who was not a 5-star. He was a 2-star quarterback who won the national title. I think Stetson Bennett in this story, Hutton, came along at the perfect time for college football. College football needed a breath of fresh air. I'm not saying Georgia, with more 5-stars than anyone else in America winning the national title, is some great feel-good story that changes the course of college football and where it's headed. It doesn't. it just further cements where the game is and where it's going. But the Stetson Bennett story, that he's the starter, that they stuck with him, that he won it, I think is an important moment right now for college football that needed a breath of fresh air. And they got it.
Also, a breath of fresh air is the fact that 2 Saban proteges beat him this year for the first time. Never seen that before, and it happened twice in this college football season. I think it's also important that Kirby Smart won the title against Bama and against Saban for the overall storyline, and comparing the two just as we open the show. Because if Georgia wins the title over Cincinnati last night, the storyline is different because Kirby Smart always felt like he was going to get back. And Georgia will be back in moments like this with the way they're recruiting. It's just bound to happen. And you felt like after the 2018 game, they were going to be back. But the storyline with Kirby Smart, and not to just – because I do agree, I think the storyline is Bennett because it's fantastic in today's college football landscape. But to what Kirby has accomplished – Clay has told us the story on air before about being at it was like a pro-am or it was a fundraiser golf tournament where he's there riding in the golf cart with Kirby Smart. And there are Georgia fans, there are Bama fans, college football fans that are jabbing him, mocking him, whoever they're playing with, coming up to the green, like, hey, how far is the putt? I can't see the ball. And they're like, oh, I think it's about 23 feet away because they scored 23 points in that 26-23 loss to Alabama in the national championship game. Or they would poke fun at I think it's about 38 feet away because it's been 38 years since Georgia won the title. And that had to stick in his crawl a bit, right? But he kind of laughed it off, and Clay's told the story like he just kind of took it in jest and moved on, knowing that he was going to get another crack at winning the title. And not only that, but he does it after losing and quite frankly, embarrassing fashion in the SEC title game compared to the standard that Georgia has set defensively all season. And then last night they live up to it. Jamison Williams going down played a factor, but it's not the reason Georgia ends up winning that game. It's the way that Stetson Bennett stepped up in the biggest moments. And Georgia goes on to score 3 touchdowns in the second half, 3 touchdowns in the fourth quarter last night in a game that was decided, we all felt was going to be decided by a kick. Ultimately, it's decided on the arm of Bennett, who they didn't trust enough and who was running for his life during the first half to do anything. Well, remarkable storyline.